Let's talk about how to go from an anxious attachment style to developing a secure attachment style. My name is Dr. Vanessa Milagros, and I'm a licensed mental health professional. I make videos on here about mental health topics such as anxiety, relationships, and more. So if you're interested in any of these things, consider subscribing by the end of this video. And if you find this helpful, giving this video a like. So let's get into today's video. So in order to dive into how to go from an anxious to a secure attachment style, we first have to understand what an anxious attachment style looks like and how it develops. I actually have a full video on anxious attachment styles right here that you can check out after this video. So typically individuals with an anxious attachment style have a need for approval from others, specifically those that they're in a relationship with. They desire strong emotional connections and they worry about being rejected or abandoned by their partners. Usually, someone with an anxious attachment style is often preoccupied or worried about their relationships, and they consistently worry about if their partner really cares about them and really loves them, or if their partner is going to leave. There's a tendency to seek constant reassurance of the stability within the relationship, and they may become overly dependent on their partner for their own emotional well-being. So let's dive into the 4 steps that you can take to heal an anxious attachment style and develop a more secure attachment style. Number 1 is healing from past hurts and emotional neglect. Now listen, those who have an anxious attachment style usually have a history of parents or guardians who emotionally neglected them as children. I have a full video on 9 signs of emotional neglect within adulthood that you can watch. I'll put it right here for you. And this dives deeper into all of that. So I'll just give you a general understanding now, but after this video, make sure to watch that one because it's really, really insightful. So those with an anxious attachment style usually become really anxious within their relationships as their parents were often consistently not attentive to their emotional needs growing up. And so that means they did not get a lot of their emotional needs met as children. This is not just inclusive of emotional needs, this could also be physical needs. And as humans, we try to make sure that we do not experience the same hurts in the future. So sometimes that could mean saying, oh, I will never. When I grow up, I will never. When I get my own relationship, I will never. We tend to cling to those because it comes from a place of pain and hurt. And so we try to live our lives in a way that avoids potential pain, suffering, or hurt. What we find is that sometimes we unconsciously end up mimicking the relationships that we have in the future based on our caregivers. So for instance, if you had emotionally distant or unavailable caregivers, usually unconsciously we tend to find those within our partners, despite recognizing that it did not feel good, it hurt to go without having your emotional needs met, to go without having that care, love, and attention, support in healthy ways. We unconsciously look for those within our relationships. And you can see why that could be damaging and harmful for us in relationships. So what does this look like in action? So if the goal for us is to not feel unsafe within our relationships, sometimes we may do that by controlling the other person, not in an intentionally mean way, but controlling possible outcomes so that we don't have to have that anxiety of, are they going to leave me? Are they going to abandon me if I do this? What if I do that? Will they stay if I don't do this? That's what we tend to overthink. And so a lot of times we don't recognize that those patterns are not healthy because it actually makes the other person feel as though they are being controlled, which they are, and maybe even suffocated. And therefore, it is not giving you the outcome that you hope it will. Maybe for a little bit, but that's not sustainable in healthy relationships long term. So healing from past hurts can include doing things like starting therapy, where you can actually work through the past and heal from it, understand your patterns within your family dynamics, and also how you have developed an understanding of how to be love and how to give love and show love to others. When you understand that, when you heal from the past and you let go a lot of the things that are weighing on you or a lot of the past pain that is hard to let go, so we hold on to, when you're able to work through that, then you can allow for you and your partner to have healthy relationship dynamics and trust that you don't have to try to control your relationship for fear of them leaving or abandoning you. Number 2 is to learn how you use other people to calm your emotions. I want you to work on distinguishing whether you're trying to connect with someone or whether you're trying to soothe yourself. So before you reach out of anxiety, out of stress, out of what if, let me control this situation, before you reach out, I want you to ask yourself these questions. Number 1, what are you feeling in this moment? Are you feeling insecure? Are you feeling anxious? What are you feeling? Name that feeling, name that emotion. Two, what are you hoping for from this interaction? Are you hoping to feel better? Are you hoping to feel less anxious, less stressed? If you're feeling stressed and anxious and the goal is to reduce that feeling, then you're probably reaching out to self soothe rather than to connect, which means you're trying to find a source outside of yourself to help you calm down. Usually, those tend to be our partners or the people that we're closest to. And a lot of times, that is how the cycle of anxious attachment continues. Next, I want you to identify who is the best person to talk to about this. Is it my therapist or mentor or accountability partner? Is it my actual partner? Is it my trusted friend or support systems? Who is the best person to talk to this about? Lastly, I want you to be mindful of trying not to rely on your partners or your support system so much so that you rely on them to feel better. That if they don't answer the phone, you're not okay until they do. I want you to be sure that your patterns are not leading you to rely on them to be your form of self soothing. Number three, learn from those who are securely attached. Like anything in life, if you want to learn how to do something or become something, you need to learn from someone or something that is in that place, that has learned that skill, that has developed that. Same thing with going from anxious to more secure attachments. Now, I want you to be mindful that those with an anxious attachment style are usually drawn to those with avoidant attachment styles. And this is because it allows the dysfunction to continue, the unhealthy patterns to continue. You become more anxious, your partner becomes more avoidant, and the cycle continues and continues. If you're an anxious individual in a relationship with someone who is securely attached, that's not going to fly for very long because usually the person with a secure attachment has and implements those boundaries that will not allow you to continue those anxious patterns, at least not with them. So, for instance, someone with an anxious attachment style may ask questions such as, what are they thinking? What did they mean when they said that? And why are they behaving this way? And you can know that someone has more of a secure attachment style based on their traits and what they do. Some of those traits are inclusive of communicating their needs openly and assertively and honestly, being able to see the world from your perspective, somebody else's perspective, not just their own. Trusting other people and themselves, having healthy self esteem, feeling worthy of love and respect from others and also giving that to others, establishing and maintaining boundaries. They can communicate when they are upset. They learn how to ground themselves, provide support to their partners when their partner is feeling down, and allow their partners to do the same thing for them when they're having an off day. So those are the traits that you want to look for and learn how to develop within yourself. And number four is to practice self-soothing and self-regulation. Now, if you have an anxious attachment style, it can be up one day and down the next. You can be happy and in love one day and then the next be fearful of possible abandonment or rejection from your partner. So I want you to learn what is going on within your emotions, within your thoughts, and name them, understand them, and not just allow yourself to ride the wave of the emotions. So if I'm sad, I'm sadder than ever, and there's nothing that I can do about it. I'm just sad. Instead, emotions of sadness are going to come up, but analyze what's going on. Why am I sad? Is it based on somebody else's actions outside of myself? Is it based on me and how I'm perceiving the world? Study yourself a little bit more instead of just saying, this is how I am and that's it. Also, with that, give yourself the time to process what is coming up for you, but do something about it. Take a walk, start therapy, rely on your support systems, journal, have a healthier routine. Learn to fulfill a lot of the things within yourself first. That way, it's not a source of, I'm relying on you and you and you and you. And if you guys are not there, then I'm going to crumble. That's not what we want. Now, I will say that this takes practice and it takes time and it is not an overnight fix. But if you are at a point where you're like, I can't do this anymore, I can't continue to survive off of my anxious attachment styles, I need to develop something different, then working on becoming more secure is something that you're going to want to mimic from other secure individuals, something that you're going to want to learn how to do over time. I would suggest reading books on secure attachment and developing this. I would watch more YouTubes just like this one. And if you enjoyed this one, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. And also listening to podcasts on developing this. Learn how to develop this understanding as if you were going back to school. That way you can see the impact on your relationships, on your romantic relationships, on your friendships, on your family relationships. Once you start to see those small little fruits of benefits that you start reaping from small changes that you make first, you're going to look and be like, there might be something to this. So continue to push forward. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you so much for being here. I would suggest watching this video next.